Hi, welcome back to the channel. Another video on what's left of the Mazda. If you've not watched the previous, I think it's 2 episodes or 2 parts, I'm going to be putting the engine, rear axle and basically the floor of this into my Mark IV Escort XR31 convertible. So I'll show you where I'm up to now. So obviously wings are off and everything. I carried on a little bit more off camera if you've not watched the previous video, and I've stripped off a little bit more of this back end on both sides. I've taken the surround off the tank. It still runs and drive. I've used a reciprocating saw to not cause any sparks, and what I'm deliberating over now is how I'm going to be making the cut. So I've got the sills here that run through to the A pillar. Obviously we've cut the windscreen off. This section here I would love to keep, but I've not got the Escort here yet to see if I can. This outer sill I want to take off, so I'm going to take this off all the way. So I'll unpick the spot welds. To be honest, I'm just going to drill through them all straight through because it's quicker and easier. And we're going to take the outer sill off. We'll then open up and see what this section is here. I'm going to leave this part in. I'll take the outer skin off there, and I'm going to leave that in for now. Now the XR3i convertible, the seat I think is going to be around about this height, and I think I'm going to have to carry the floor on level a little bit further, but I need to get it back to check that, because I'd love to try and leave the chassis rails in, and I'll show you underneath as to why. Even this isn't light enough to go up from a partial start on the lift, unless we're right down at the bottom. Right, so underneath the car is actually in really tidy condition. No signs of major rot. The outer sills are the worst bit. Obviously we've got holes there, it's got previous repairs done, you can see the underseal on. But the underneath, other than from the other side, I knocked a screwdriver through there and there, the chassis rails are pretty mint. The rails at the front, got a big patch of rot there where the subframe mounts on the driver's side. Passenger side is just starting to go, but that's no problem, we can fix them, no problem. Passenger side again is quite tidy, other than on the transition of pieces. On this transition there's a little bit of a patch, but that's no problem, we can sort that. The back here is looking okay. Again, the chassis rails that the subframe mounts to are pretty much spot on. So essentially what we're going to be doing is, somewhere around here is, if I can unpick that rail it'd be great, and then refabricate another chassis rail 6 inches longer to pull my wheelbase back on both sides, and then make a floor to suit. That would be the ideal. I'm not sure what this brace is called that supports that carries through from the diff to the gearbox, but I think I've read that it's aluminium. So what I'll probably do is, on one of the ends, maybe on the diff end, I'll put an extension piece across there, 6 inches longer, with a couple of rods through it to re-secure this onto, to keep that. So we've still got that solid connection between the front and the back. just a little bit longer, so I don't want to remove that. And the fuel filters there will keep this plastic just in case. But I'm hoping that we could just sort of cut the back end off, pull it back a bit, and mount that under the Escort. Now the Escort's got a really solid back because of the roof. It's very, very solid. But I want to try and the Escort has actually got like a double sill underneath it, which I don't know if I'm going to keep, depending on how much of this sill I can keep. If I can keep these sills, these are double skinned, and obviously the strength of this car is going to be a lot stronger than the Escort. The Escort's just got an extra sill on the bottom. I've been carrying off. Right, I've been carrying on off camera. You see where I'm up to here. So all the boot floor's been taken out. I've unpicked it. I've left the chassis rail in between the rear legs, obviously because the subframe's mounted to it, but also it gives it the rigidity to stay where it is. The outer sill is removed and a load of this from around here. What I'm going to be doing next is the same on the other side, but then on this side I need to start cutting away here so I can remove that section, and all I want to be leaving in, I want to remove all of that and just leave the chassis legs in, is what I'm hoping. So the idea is, by leaving, I don't know if you can see, so the chassis leg runs here and then comes up quite steeply there. If I can leave that and then extend the prop and the spine that runs from the rear axle to the gearbox, I'm thinking I can extend the chassis. I'm not going to bother with the floor because I'm going to hopefully leave the rear end of the Escort floor in, and because it's got quite a flat floor on the cabriolet, I'm hoping that by the time I've unpicked all of this and stripped off everything and taken the fuel tank out, I can sort of slot this back end under and refabricate from these chassis legs. So however I do it, so if I sort of box it down, seam weld it, and then obviously spot it from underneath, I can sit that underneath the cabriolet. That's the hope anyway. But I'm just going to carry on stripping this. The front, all I've really done is take, so on the front all I've really done is took the slam panel off. I have found more corrosion on the chassis at the front, it's on both sides, so I'm going to have to cut that back a little bit further than I'd hoped. But again, I don't know where the Escort's going to sit, so it might need it anyway. I want to leave as much of this in bulkhead as possible so that I can have pretty much my idea, or my hope is to have an mx5 engine bay. That's what I'm hoping for. I'll probably have to do something with this section because that's obviously where the heater inlet is, and I don't know again where the cabriolet is going to be. I reckon it might be somewhere around here where that sits in, so if maybe the scuttle will be something like that, but again, we'll see. Right, so this side now is near where I wanted to get it to. So it's 9:30 at night now, so I'm gonna have to leave it. I just need to cut off this bit flush. So it's a couple of nuts, and then the cup for the spring is on there. Obviously, all that I want strengthening up once on the car, but there is zero weight on it now. I'm gonna cut that side off the same tomorrow. Obviously, the fuel tank's yet to come out. So we've got essentially where the floor area is going to go. Hopefully tomorrow I'm going to cut this section out here down to where the strengthening part of the sill is, so probably there. I'm thinking if I cut it off on there, cut that across there, tap that bit back so that we've got some structural rigidity if we can use that section. We've got some rust here which is like the floor area, so that's obviously going to have to get cut out. But that whole area there is going to be cut off anyway, all the way up to the tunnel. So I'll be lengthening the tunnel towards where the back seats are on the cabriolet, and I'm going to make the floor completely so that the under seat area will either be joined onto what's in the cabriolet now or fabricated from scratch to the chassis rails. So hopefully I'm going to cut that there, as I say, take that section off there. We're going to cut a section out the floor, extend the legs, and hopefully get somewhere like we need